Running commentary. We are exploring listening to albums. It is a lost art form. We took an hour out of our day. We switched off the phones. We switched off the computers. We did not answer the door. We sat down and we listened to the artist's vision and concept. Swing Out Sister. It's Better to Travel. Released on the 11th of May 1987 on Mercury Records and produced by Paul Stavely O'Duffy. O'Duffy is the co-writer of my absolute favourite by Amy Winehouse, Wake Up Alone. It was recorded between 1985 and 1987 from a Robert Louis Stevenson quote. To travel, hopefully, is a better thing than to arrive, and the true success is to labour. Swing Out Sister at this time were made up of Corinne Drewery on vocals, Andy Connell on keyboards, and Martin Jackson on drums. The band's name came from a 1945 Arthur Treacher movie, which they all agreed they hated. Here's a heartbreak. Originally, when Swing Out Sister were doing the demos for their music, there was a vocalist called Diane Charlemagne that was part of the 52nd Street band from Manchester. Swing Out Sister were based in Manchester. And why do I care? You know, why does this matter? Well, I was signed to Peer Music. And Diane Charlemagne wound up being the vocalist for Urban Cookie Collective, who had hits with The Key, The Secret, and Feels Like Heaven. So I'm looking her up online. You know, I met Rowan and Diane at Peer Studios when I was first signed, and I signed to Peer Music because of the Urban Cookie Collective sound. I thought they were really fantastic. And when I'm reviewing this album, I found out that she died in 2015 after a long battle with cancer. So it was really sad to find that out. And so rest in peace, Diane. Really, my sincerest respects. Just to add here that Diane had sung on such classics as, Goldie's Inner City Life. She'd been part of that sort of trip-hop movement as well. So God bless Diane. Really sorry to hear of your passing. Remember, we've talked about that jazz bar style of pop that was popular in 1987. It sort of had started with Matt Bianco, Carmel, Everything But the Girl, late 83, early 84. You had these sort of cocktail jazz trios. You could also say that Cure Love Cats had that sort of jazz thing going on as well. But in 1987, it came back as the forefront of pop with Curiosity Killed the Cat and Terence Trent D'Arby as the more popular champions of this sort of cocktail, sophisticated wine bar jazz sort of feel. I don't know if I think you know what I'm talking about here. So Breakout is the big hit. It's an up-tempo, upbeat classic, brassy and fresh. The song will always remind me of going to school in Berkshire. I'm surprised at how many people don't like this song. I definitely do like it. It's a big hit in the UK. I think it reached number 4 in the UK in 1986. And if American fans are saying, no, it wasn't a hit in 1986, well, no, you're right. It wasn't a hit in your country until 1987 when it reached number 6 almost a year later. So that disparity that sometimes happens, we got Swing Out Sister in 86 and you guys got Swing Out Sister in 87. There are bands like that on the British and American charts where there's like a year divide and you're like, what the hell? I mean, we've talked about it here where Howard Jones's album came out with a bunch of his songs on all at the same time. We'd got them in 83 and then the US didn't get them till 85. So, it does happen. Twilight World, I think this is a strong piece from the album. There's lots going on instrumentally. It's very upbeat. It does make you want to travel. It makes you want to get in a car and drive. It's brassy. It's fresh. I like it. I like Twilight World. These singles I think really worked really well for them. After Hours is definitely a moodier piece. The instrumentation sounds a little primitive, but the songwriting is solid and Corinne handles the vocals proficiently. Blue Mood as the first single doesn't have a blue mood. After Hours does. Decent enough song, doesn't grab me the way some of the other material does. Surrender has a lot going for it. This was a stylish and sophisticated tension that they were able to build into the production here. It's a great follow-up single to Breakout, reaching number 7 in the UK singles charts. Johnny Thurkell's trumpet on the middle 8 is inspired. He was, I believe, part of the whole Level 42 kind of lineage. It's definitely more style than substance, but that's what makes it classically 80s. You know, you had these brilliant bits of pop sophistication which meant absolutely nothing, but the sound was absolutely right for what was going on at the time, and Surrender's definitely got that. Fooled by a Smile is my favourite on the album. This came out in July 87, and this was when I used to be riding around on my bike, picking up the car brochures from all the different dealerships. I used to go to Audi and pick up all their car dealers, and then the Volkswagen, and then to BMW, and basically was riding on the bike. And this was a hit in July 1987, and I love this song. It's got a major feel-good factor, especially from that sort of summertime feel-good factor. I wonder sometimes, though, if English acts suffered as a result of trying hard to appeal transatlantically. The video for this is a lavish Arizona-looking set, and I wonder if this clashed with the appeal of the band's earlier homegrown image. You know, sometimes, you know, people want America. They want the success here in the States. They do. That's great. But in order to get that, you've got to appeal to what's going on here. So you're going to have to probably give up some of what makes you successful back home in England to succeed here. There are differences. Everyone says, oh no, it's all the same. It's not the same. You know, there's something a little bit more localized about England. You know, you have to bear in mind England's the size of New York State. New York State, I think, is bigger than England. You know, when you bear that in mind, it keeps it all in perspective. You're much more, I think, in a much more of a goldfish bowl in the UK because of just how small the country is. So I think, you know, Swing Out Sister suffered from this a little bit. They were sort of like, oh, now we're a hit in the States. It's like, okay, great, go be a hit in the States. We won't bother with you anymore, which, as you know, is precisely pretty much what happened. Communion is a decent song which keeps in step with the rest of the album's production. The synth strings sound dated now, but that doesn't detract too much if you have the knowledge of this era's music. The theme from Swing Out Sister, this is the one track on the album that doesn't belong as far as I'm concerned. It's acting as though it's a movie soundtrack to a spy thriller, but I just find it jarring and odd. It's just weird. I don't like, what's it doing on here? It doesn't sort of, what are you going for? Like, it almost needs, like, if you got to explain it, and you're like a, you know, it's like not Sting kind of explain it, but, you know, because he's further on in his career, but you're a debut album, you've got to explain something. I don't know. Cheap Way Army, anyone? I don't know. Let's leave that alone. It's not enough. Adequate yet somewhat bland song on a collection of otherwise well-intentioned, sturdy compositions. I don't really have a lot to say about the music. I mean, I think it's pleasant enough. I think it's timely enough. I think it worked very well for what it was when it was. I think Swing Out Sister have to be given credit for their part in this cocktail jazz bar style of pop. At the time, they had a cheeky optimism which was refreshing in the dreary surroundings of Nick Berry's Every Loser Wins, Status Quo's In the Army Now, and Cliff and Sarah's endless reign of the UK pop charts with All I Ask of You. While they cut corners instrumentally, you can definitely hear it at this point in time. Ultimately, though, these groups all lost their footing with the stock market crash, together with Terence Trent D'Arby and Curiosity Killed the Cat at the end of 1987. And we know why, don't we? Because it was sort of yuppie-ish. It was like, you know, oh, it's better to travel. Let's go abroad. Let's, you know, do coke. Let's drink bottles of expensive wine. Let's drive away in our, you know, two-seater Audi convertible. Fine. But you're not going to do that once the stock market's crashed, and that's exactly what happened. And I think all of these guys went down the plug hole with the stock market. That cocktail, no one wanted to hear that anymore. No one wanted to be reminded of that excess and that, you know, that sort of big boom-bust thing that went on. So, yeah, they boomed and then they bust in terms of Swing Out Sister. Terence Trent D'Arby, Curiosity Killed the Cat. They all disappeared at the same time down the stock market plug hole with King's Cross and Zeebrugge and everything else that happened. I like the album enough, but I do feel its place remains firmly in the past. So the running commentary, album review, final mark for Swing Out Sister, It's Better to Travel, 70%.